Casual Magic has been sponsored by Quiver, maker of the Quiver and Bolt deck cases and other fine deck holding accessories. Use the code CASUAL on their website for 10% off your order. You can also support Casual Magic directly by going to our Patreon at patreon.com/Shivam. And now, on with the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Quiver and my patrons at patreon.com/Shivam. And today I am incredibly excited to be talking to one of the greatest fan creators of Magic formats. I don't know, I'm going to say like next to the dudes who created Commander up in Alaska. So definitely high up on my list of probably one of the most important people in modern Magic. Wow. And I'm very good at puffing people up. So you let me do that. It's okay. This show would be nothing without my hyperbole. But this is the thing is I'm talking to Nick Floyd, the creator of Dandan and like 1,000 other formats. And so I want to preface this at first by saying like, I have long been of the opinion that Magic is not just a game, but it is a game system, and that the cards within it should be used to play as many different games as possible. And that, like, for instance, 60 card standard and Commander are different games with different goals and different ideas. And so when my friend Cal introduced me to Forgetful Fish for the first time, aka Dandan, which is like one of my favorite cards from when I was in middle school or whatever, I was blown away by the fact that somebody had actually put into practice this crap that I just spew into the internet all the time, which is finding a way to take these game pieces and make a wholly different game out of it. And I think because of your influence, the entire huge proliferation now of other single deck, single system kind of like ways to use your Magic cards is all over the place, and I'm just like incredibly hyped for it, which is why I was saying that I think you're such a big deal for this new era of Magic, and I love that. And so thank you so much for joining me today, Nick. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah. I mean, like, in fact, let me just get this thought out of my head because this has been percolating for a while. It's like there was Richard Garfield's Magic, which is we're going to take the cards we own and build them into decks, play them, 60 cards, 4 copies each, whatever, play them against each other, all the cards we own. And then we get the Magic the Gathering of like, formats and limited versions. And then you develop like limited play, sealed play, and all these other things. And then, early on we had things like Highlander or Prismatic or all these other weird ways to use it, but they were effectively finding ways to do it. And like Commander created a multiplayer version of this. And like over the past 5-10 years, as Commander has blown up, you see a lot of spin-offs of Commander coming out. Things like Oathbreaker and Brawl and Clover and all these other like mini tiny micro formats that are just showing up left and right. Mm-hmm. And that's because like we had 60 card Magic and it spun off its things. Now we have 100 card Magic and it spun off its things. And suddenly people rediscovered Forgetful Fish and the idea of a single deck of Magic cards being able to play a thematic, concise game that is entirely of its own volition. And I think that's going to be the new locus for spinning off weird ways to play Magic.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. But I also, I don't want to limit people to the single deck. Like, let's play out of the same library. There's other variants out there, Matt, and ways to play. I have a variant that it's a 3-player variant that you each play you play a different deck, but it's really the same deck. And so, it creates this weird 3-player dynamic. But it's not a single shared library.
I love that. So like, that's the thing. I want to talk to you today about how you started creating these different ways to use Magic cards in such unique fashion. And probably explain to the audience what Dandan is for the few people who aren't there yet. But we'll get to that in a second. First off, when did you start playing?
I started playing in 94, which I believe I heard that's when you started playing as well. So, yeah.
Right around the Dark and Revised.
I think the Dark was the current set when I started, but Fallen Empires came out a couple weeks later, so I consider Fallen Empires to be my first set. Which, surprisingly, I kept with it. So
Yeah. Well, you know what? When you're first joining the game, everything is so new and cool that you don't really have a conception of why this may not be the. I mean, my problem was that when I started playing and like I was using the Dark Revise and Fallen Empires came out, I still had friends who had played with Unlimited and Beta and Arabian's Legends and stuff. So they'd be doing things like, here's Dakin Blackblade and here's Arcada Sabbath. And I'd be like, here's Savelionite Temple, I guess. You know, you feel we very clearly recognized that the Magic we were playing was not as cool as the Magic they were playing. And it had only been a year the game had been out.
Yeah, and I didn't even have that. I grew up in Wyoming, so I was playing in the least populated state. Nobody had alpha or beta or unlimited cards. It was just,
how did you find a second person, let alone?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Oh, man. I drove through Wyoming once, and I was in, like, the town of Cody, and I was like, man, my high school has more people than this city does.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's pretty sparse out there. But
how did you find Magic then?
My buddies and I were interested in like Dungeons and Dragons and that sort of game, and the mail order catalog that we ordered from was like hyping Magic as soon as it came out, as soon as it hit Gen Con that year. We're like, it splashed it all over their cover and things, and we're like, we should try this. And we didn't for like a year, and then. And then we finally bought a starter and tried it. Well, two of us did. The third guy wasn't even interested. So,
God, that's wild. I mean, the idea of mail order catalogs for D&D that is of an era right there. Right. But I mean, like, I was also playing D&D at the time because I got into fantasy novels with Dragonlance books and with Forgotten Realms and everything. And then my friend's like, hey, you know, there's a game attached to this. And I was like, oh my God. And, you know, I hear my friends at recess playing. When I moved from Massachusetts back to California, and I joined band, and I'm going to band after at the end of recess, and I hear my friend say, I throw a fireball at the dragon. And I'm like, oh, great, D&D. I want to go there. I want to see what they're doing. And they were playing with cards that had fireballs. I'm like, it's D&D, but I can see the pictures.
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing of all time. Yeah.
Yeah, so we just started high school at the same time. And high school was only 3 years where I grew up, so it was my sophomore year essentially. And we had to share underclassmen. Sophomores had to share lockers, and I opened my locker up one day, and the sophomore I was sharing with had a box of Magic cards in our locker, and I'm like, he plays too. So from there, we got a larger group. So.
That is the best way to randomly find somebody else playing Magic. It's like, open your locker one day and it's like there's a starter deck and you're like, is it my lucky day?
Yeah, right. I know. I thought, is this real Magic? Where did these come from? Yeah.
Yeah, God, that must be weird because like it wasn't there yesterday and it's not mine. But so, yeah, because that's definitely a story. Like, I mean, maybe a little less like a lot of us, but definitely of that era. So you were a sophomore in high school, so you're only a couple of years older than me. But because I was in like 7th, 8th grade, something like that. So what interests you in that early days of Magic to like were you just doing what we were doing and just playing like I make a deck, you make a deck, and we fight against each other type of thing?
Well, when we first started, when we got starter, and I bought a couple boosters from a game store. When I traveled outside of my little town, we went to Salt Lake City, and I bought some boosters. We were just playing all the cards we had. We didn't know that you could construct a deck. You could take cards out. We just played everything we had, and we were playing for ante, and we didn't know. So it was just the two of us at the time until I discovered my locker partner also played, and he said, "Yeah, there's a card shop in town. They sell sports cards, but they also have Magic, and they run tournaments." And I was like, "Well, we're going to those." So, and I told my buddy, I'm like, "Don't go without me. Wait, I have to work this weekend. Don't go without me." He went without me. He didn't tell me, just went, and he came back and said, "You're going to be glad I told you, or that I went without you, because they build their decks. They like take cards out, and they're not playing like every card like we are.
Oh no!
And the card shop had decks you could buy that were just a couple of bucks. They were mostly commons, but they were all green or red cards, for instance. And so you could build your deck with just those and really start to refine your deck. And that's how kind of we discovered, you can start building decks with this and not have to play every card you have. You don't have to play your white cards with your black cards with your blue cards and
God, it was like, because when you open a starter deck, there would be just a random pack of cards plus like 5 lands of each color, and you're just good luck. Go figure it out. I remember because like the way I started playing was my friend who was teaching me how to play was showing me the color wheel, and he was like, oh, these are allies and these are enemy colors and they don't like each other and stuff. And he showed me the card Shivan Dragon, and I was like, they spelled my name wrong. What the hell? This is whatever the enemy of that is, I want.
Yeah.
Without realizing I, of course, would be a perfect red-green player. But so I gave him money, and he built me a blue-white deck with like Mahamoti Jin and Sarah Angel and Water Elementals and crap. And so I got lucky. I just started with a deck right away, and then I built up with extra starter decks. But what caused you to? When did you create Dandan or Forgetful Fish? Why?
Okay, so I've tell the story a lot. So I was traveling.
My audience hasn't heard it.
Right. I was traveling to I don't know where. I like it. I have false memories of it, but I was visiting my cousins, and I wanted to teach my cousin to play Magic because I was super excited about this game, but I didn't have my cards with me.
How soon after? Like, was this like years after you had started playing, or was it just like still kind of?
This was 96. It had to be 96 because Homelands had just come out, which is the first printing of Memory Lapse, and also Chronicles was out at the same time, which was a reprint of Dandan. Yeah, and so I didn't have enough cards to build 2 decks. I just bought some random packs on the road, and I was like, well, we'll just shuffle them all together. I had a starter of 4th edition or something. I was like, we'll just shuffle them all together. We'll play it on the same deck. That should work just fine. And then he cast a spell, and I was like, I will counter that with Memory Lapse. I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh, no.
We're playing out of the same deck, so this will go on top, and I get to draw it. Wow. Okay, I gotta build something around that. I gotta build a new deck around that idea. So that was my idea for a variant where we play out of the same deck.
What a crazy idea. I mean, think about it. That could have been like, Power Sync or a Spell Burst or anything like that. And it's just like, it wouldn't have made a difference. But because it's the weird counter spell that like puts it back on top, suddenly you're like, now what happens?
Yeah. It was a bolt of lightning, and it was like a bolt of creativity, and I just had to build something around it.
That's such a lucky series of coincidences to run you into that.
Definitely
to just be like, oh yeah, I've got Homelands and Chronicles.
Yeah,
let's go. Like, I've got to say, I'm going to guess not many people came up with a lot of gems of wisdom from those 2 sets.
Right.
Maybe Memory Scroll. Is it? No, Merchant Scroll. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Because so for those of you guys who don't know at home, the effective idea of Dandan is that the card Dandan was created in Arabian Nights. It's a 4/1, and it says it's got island home, right? Like, I can only attack you if you have an island, and if I don't have an island, it goes away.
Right, that's right.
Right, and so the idea is that it's this what Sheldon Menery once called the worst of all mono blue mirrors from like the mid '90s, just in one deck. It's basically almost entirely mono blue deck, depending on the version you're playing, where you've got 10 Dandans and a bunch of different like memory lapses and counter spells, ways to draw cards, ways to accumulate knowledge to get cards out of the graveyard, single shared deck, and just these weirdo cards that will let you change one land type to another so that you can sync the Dandan.
Yeah.
And the life total is 5 because it's 20 divided by 4, so you just hit someone 5 times. Yeah. And it's so genius. Like, when I got introduced to this, Cal, who is the editor of Cascade right now, and also former CDH guy and everything like that. There was a CDH tournament here in San Jose, and he brought it and showed it to me, and I sat and I played it, and I was like, this is insane. This is the coolest thing I've ever played in Magic since I was a kid. Like, this feels like Magic did when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But it's also breaks your brain, man.
Yeah. I've had people tell me that it hurts I don't like Dandan, it hurts my brain. But and then other people, it like kind of gives them like a mental high. I think it gives like when Ben Wheeler played it on Loaded Ready Run, he said, "I found the serotonin button, and this is it." That's my favorite quote for Dandan.
You know, Wheeler is my podcasting partner, and we were recording some episodes earlier today, and we were talking about how phenomenal this idea is, just because if you are the right type of blue control player from like the mid to late 90s, this is the exact kind of game you want to play, because it's so ridiculous. And like, I really do want to kind of go into like the details of how you came to like how did you decide on 10 Dandans, or
Sure. When I first came up with the idea, it was around memory lapse. I'm like, I'm going to build a mono blue deck with memory lapse where we play with the same library. It's like, what am I going to use as a threat? And I had, like I said, Chronicles was out, and I had a bunch of Dandans that weren't doing anything. And I'm like, well, if we're both playing blue, we'll be able to attack each other, so that's not a big deal. And it's a 4/1 for 2 mana, the same casting cost as memory lapse. So I'm like, okay, we're going to keep the casting cost low. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to use Dandan. And I was like, okay, well, how am I going to kill Dandans? And I started looking through my trade binder, and I'm like, just magical hack it. Change the land type on a card. That will kill Dandan for 1 blue mana. That's awesome. Yes. I'm going to use that. So that kind of was the impetus of the whole thing. You know,
Man, I think that's what really sold me on the idea, is because when I was a kid, like I said, my first deck was blue and white, and I was absolutely the guy running 5 Circle of Protections with Sleight of Mind and Magical Hack, and so I can have my, Land Walk or whatever the hell going on. And when I saw, when I first drew my hand of Dandan, and I'm sitting there and I'm figuring out how this game works, and I'm looking at things like, diminishing returns, which is like the weirdest time twister of all time. It's like, you exile the top 10 and then shuffle everything back and drop to 7. And it's like, what? Why? And just like, but when I saw Crystal Spray and Magical Hack, I just started laughing, because I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. This is because, like, you look at this stuff, or like Piracy Charm, whatever. And I'm like, what kind of lunacy is going on? It's so good.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's one of the greatest things about building variant Magic, is like cards that like really are stupid in Magic that don't work will work in this variant. So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That is the sort of thing that I was so happy. I was just looking at these cards. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Because like later I went to my store and I was like, I'm going to go build me a Dandan deck. And I went with the list of cards I needed, and I handed it to the storekeep, and he's looking at me like, what the hell is this crap? What do you mean you need every Dandan I own? Do I even own any Dandans?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so good. Like, I mean, some of these choices are so weird, like, predict, or I think my favorite thing was the fact that accumulated knowledge was there, which is accumulated knowledge, for those guys who don't know at home. Draw a card and then draw a card equal to the number of cards named accumulated knowledge in all graveyards. This is a shared deck, 1 graveyard, you cast it. So you get 1, the next person get 2, 3, 4, 5. And learning how to time that so that like you memory lapse their accumulated knowledge so you can draw it next turn and draw 6 cards or whatever. And it's just like, oh God, it really, this game teaches you the value of this, not only the stack, but of sequencing your turns, and of really, really thinking heavily about what every move you're making is going to represent for the other player. It is the most thinky format of Magic I've played since like Odyssey Block.
Yeah, and in some ways, Dandan is an advanced Magic game because it's a control mirror.
Yeah,
but
it
at
sure
the same
is.
time, it teaches the fundamentals too. How the stack works and things better than playing regular Magic for years. You can learn how it works or teach somebody how it works faster with a Dandan deck than it might take much longer.
I remember I was showing a younger person how to play this, and they're like the revelation of casting memory lapse and then realizing that they get to draw the card immediately after was like, it was like watching them level up in real time, just like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's one thing I try to strive for in my variants is like that kind of mind revelation. You're like, whoa, this is different. This is going to be a totally unique way to play this spell and do something unique.
Like one of my favorite things in Commander is when people take Magic cards that have had one traditional use for a very long time and find a way to do something that is like, you would have never in a million years put these two cards together, let alone to come up with this nonsense pile that is in front of you. And then you're just like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. What the hell?
Yeah, absolutely. I love Commander for that exact reason. You can just, you see cards you don't normally see, and sometimes they're awesome because you're playing them with this Commander. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're just like, this is so cool. This is doing such weird things. And one thing I discovered when we were at, because like I got to meet you at, I met you at a few Magic Cons, but also mainly at Shoebox in Minneapolis. And you had a whole table full of different variants of like card form, like games to play. And I think that's so sick because like people are like, oh man, it's the Dandan guy. But then it's like, well, you didn't stop there. You just kept going with other, like, I remember I played one that was like, it was, what the hell was it? It had white cards primarily, and it was it the rock paper scissors one? No, I don't remember.
Did you play rock paper scissors there?
Yeah. Oh, I did. Yeah, I played rock paper scissors, which was super cool too.
That's the one I mentioned. That's a 3-player variant where everybody's playing the same deck, but one has rock lobsters, one has paper tigers, and one has scissor lizards.
Oh man. Okay, explain it to us because I'm not going to try to read this sideways.
Okay, so each player plays with the same. They're ultimately the same deck, except there are 10 rock lobsters in the rock deck. There's 10 scissor lizards in the scissors deck, and 10 paper tigers in the paper deck. And then so that creates an interesting situation where the rock player really wants to kill the paper player because the paper tigers lock down his creatures. They can't attack or block. The rock lobsters can't attack or block as long as there's a paper tiger in play. Mm-hmm. And then the scissor player wants to kill rock because the same deal with rock beating scissors. So
each of these cards is a 4/3 for 4 mana that says creatures named whatever its opponent is can't attack or block. So paper tiger beats rock lobster beats scissor lizard beats paper tiger. Get it? Rock paper scissors. It works.
Yeah. So the situation is rock wants to kill paper and scissors wants to kill rock. But you got to kind of protect the scissors player, the guy that's trying to kill you. You have to protect him a little bit because his creatures lock down the other guy who you're trying to kill's creatures. And so if you have one primary enemy and one secondary enemy who wants to kill you, you have to protect him a little bit in order so you can defeat the first guy before you defeat him. So
that feels a little like the board game diplomacy, where it's like, I need to make allies with you, even though I know the second I do, you're going to betray me and stab me. But I need you to help me beat this guy. So it's got to be an ally of convenience while I'm paying attention to make sure you don't lock down my own stuff. Man, that's wild. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
it was really
creates
interesting.
This weird dynamic, and it does it kind of naturally. Like when I first started playing, when I first built it, and I built it right after Unglued came out in '98. It's the second variant I created after Dandan, and in playing it the first time, it created this dynamic. I'm like, wait a minute, I can't let you die because your creatures lock down his creatures, and but you want to kill me. So it's just this like my enemy's enemy is my friend kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's only 3 of you, so the triangle is very like you've got to keep your eye on them while attacking the other guy because they can turn on you at any point in time. Yeah. And so there's this like, do you have the deck? I mean, you should put the deck list for that up somewhere because like I would totally. That sounds like a fun con game.
It should. It's on. On that link I gave you. It should
I will. I saw the document for it, so I will.
Top 2 there, and recently I realized that rock paper scissors is not going to catch on like Dandan did because you have to build 3 40-card decks, and there are no lands. There are no basic lands. There are no non-basic lands. And there's reasons for that. And you read my design notes and you can figure out why. But anyway, it's just hard to get somebody started. Like I got to build 120 cards to get to play this variant. I'm like, yeah. So in my Google Docs for rock paper scissors, I recently added printable proxies, so you can just print the number of pages you need and just slip them in sleeves with another card and put rock paper scissors together tomorrow. That's
so cool. Like, yeah, that's the thing. All of these formats that you've created, they feel more like interesting board games more so than, and I don't mean that in like any kind of negative way, but just in the sense of like, these feel like really cool board game variants comparatively, compared to like, say, playing Magic competitively, which feels like Street Fighter almost like, very much we're fighting each other and we're trying to beat like one of the because like I like to turn Magic into a board game personally. That's why I like Commander or Plane Chase or things like that. One of my favorite ways to play is when we've got like 5 people is to play. Did you ever play the board game Bang?
Yes, I played Bang. Yeah.
Where there's a sheriff and there's deputies and then there's like villains and stuff and everybody but the sheriff's got a hidden role. And you have to try to figure out who everybody is and the alliances and stuff. Or like playing Star. Where you've got like your 2 allies and the 2 enemies. And I love that. I think the more interesting and weirdo ways we can play Magic and the more ways to use the cards we buy, it just makes me happy. Like when Conspiracy came out and gave us all sorts of weird things to do with Draft or Battle Bond and we can suddenly start playing 2-player. It feels like your formats are right along that line of like, here's things to do with Magic cards that isn't just requiring you to play Magic. Like straightforward.
Right. Yeah. I do want to mention that all the variants I had at Shoebox, some of them weren't mine. I have 3 friends here in the.
How dare you have friends?
In the Twin Cities, and I have a variant play group. We meet about once a month, and to share ideas and play different variants. And 3 of my friends loaned me their variant decks for Shoebox. So cool. So and they're linked in that Google Doc as well.
Yeah, I will share this Google document in the show notes later. It's like a link to all of Nick's and his friends' formats and variants with like descriptions and like details on how to do it. And it's just, oh man, I love this. This is so cool. Like, do you ever fancy yourself trying to go into game design? Because these are all really clever and interesting ways to play.
Well, I can't help messing with games. It's a habit of mine. If I find a game I like, but I have an idea for it, I'll tweak it and change it. I would have loved to have gotten into that when I was younger. I don't know if I could do it anymore, but I'm happy doing with what I'm doing. I create a new Magic variant every 6 months or so.
That's okay. So it's got to feel weird that something you came up with in 1996 popped like 30 years later.
Yeah, well, I released them online in 2016. I didn't keep them a secret, but I played them with only a few people here and there. I wasn't trying to I would play it wherever I lived. I would like go to a game store and be like, hey, you want to try this? It's fun. Try it. Sit down. We play it on the same deck. You don't even need your own cards.
Oh, that's perfect.
I played, after the Ristic Studies video dropped in 2023, which is how I found out it had taken off. I dropped them in 2016, but it took like 7 years for it to really get going. And I saw in one of the comments, I was like, I met this guy in Florida. He had a Dandan deck there. That was back in 2003. I was like, that was me. I lived in Florida then.
That's so crazy. So what did it like? what did it feel like when you discovered that this had suddenly become the new hotness in like just spread worldwide?
It was weird. I didn't believe it at first. My wife said, somebody on Facebook said, your husband created a magic thing that's really taken off. And I was like, don't believe it. That's probably a scam. He's trying to scam you somehow. And then I did some searches, and I was like, I messaged her back. I'm like, it's true. Dandan took off. I didn't know.
Because like there was like, I think Cal had posted a lineage of who learned Dandan from who and where they found it, and all the way back to that random forum post. And it was just like somebody saw it on like, my friend Anurag's stream, playing it in the background randomly, from somewhere. And it's just this whole the thing I love the most about this is just how randomly organic and beautiful this kind of transmission is, because this is like, so like in my other world, I'm a Hindu priest. So I come from a lineage of oral transmission, of spreading knowledge, of sharing it from, one person to like the next. And we call it the Guru Parampara, which is you're being taught by a guru who was taught by a guru who was taught by a guru. So you go back and you can trace your lineage back. And Cal went and posted on Hipsters this whole like lineage tracing to figure out how did we, the public, discover this format, besides like before even Sam made his video, right? Like, and it's just like watching this step going back step by step by, a friend taught me who learned from a friend who learned from a friend who saw it on a stream where somebody else was playing it about something that he read about in a magic forum somewhere. And it's like, what the hell? This is like, it feels like when we first discovered magic in the first place, where you're like, dude, I heard this guy's got this card I've never heard of called a Black Lotus, where it gives you all the and it's just like, and because everybody gets this, it's like an infection. Like they catch it and then they have to go to everybody. Then I was like, hey, do you want to play Dandan? And
no, I mean, it went viral, just like they say. And I don't know who my patient zero was who first saw one of my posts online and decided to build it and started this spread, but I'm grateful.
I mean, for me, it was Cal Jones and Braden who basically like brought it to, I guess, my attention, and like Sam. And then of course Sam makes his video, and now the entire world's like dandanning all day long or making dog or all these other weirdo formats. And it's just so good. It's such a cool, like I remember like when Sam talked to you on the video or something, you just looked a little shell shocked. You're like, what?
Yeah.
It must have been weird. Like when you were at the MagicCon, wasn't that strange to be like, people are like, holy crap, you created Dandan?
Yeah. So at Shoebox this last March, I wore one of my Dandan T-shirts. It says, I don't exactly play by the rules, and it has a picture of Dandan. And I went to play in your event, and I sat down for my third game. And they go, with Dandan on your shirt, you must be a Dandan player, must be a Dandan fan. I'm like, actually, I created Dandan. I'm like, no way.
That's so good. Oh my God, dude. I don't know. I just like, because there's this level of jaded you become when you're in Magic for a long time and you've seen everything, you've played all the formats. So when something so novel shows up, it is like childish delight. It's like, I never in my million years imagined this sort of thing. But just looking at this thing, suddenly every trigger you have goes off in terms of like, oh, I'm not bound by the rules of how to play Magic. I can do whatever I want with these cards. Look at this. Look at this pile of random counter spells. It's a little like the first time you discover Commander after playing like 60 cards for your whole life or whatever. You're like, oh, I can just build a different kind of deck, and I've got a general and it's got a theme. And that's why every time people are like, oh, we should get rid of color rules in Commander, I'm like, no, that's not the point. Is that this is very weird and different from everything else, and you're forced to play within these thematic rules that gives you a different game. Otherwise, it's just singleton Magic, which is just whatever.
It's Yeah, and it's you can do anything with Magic, and I see as people first time playing Dandan, they're like, "There's more than 4 copies of certain cards." I'm
Mm.
like, yeah, because you don't have to stick to those rules. You can do whatever you want. So
Yeah, right. Like, who's going to stop you, man? Like, just do what you're going to do and play the game.
yeah,
Like, without going into much detail, what did you think about when Wizards put out like that gorgeous version of the secret layer version of Dandan?
well, it's known online that they didn't contact me beforehand,
That was
but they
awkward and
contacted me
unpleasant.
afterwards, and they sent me one and the playmat from Atlanta, and they brought me out to the office in Renton,
Renton.
and yeah,
That must have
and,
been really cool, at least, to be able to go fly out to Wizard headquarters.
it was awesome. Yeah, it was great, and we did a promotional video for the secret layer that was going to be coming out. It came out the week after we were at Shoebox,
Yeah.
and then
I was very lucky to get one.
good.
Dude, mainly, I'm not going to lie, the art that Kellogg's Loop did for the actual Dandan themselves, the koi, is stunning.
It is.
It's just
It is,
so
definitely
pretty.
is. Yeah. And the treatments on all the cards. I mean, I love the old school border that's on the non-foil cards that are in the thing, and all the full art foil cards are beautiful. The islands are incredible. Like
It's some of the best looking islands I've ever seen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And every time I put the fourth one, I get the panorama and put the fourth one down. I'm like, I win. I got Tron. I win.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it's just a
Man,
joke.
it must feel cool though that something you came up with has been like kind of just enshrined like this into like this really cool version.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an honor to have put a stamp on Magic, the game I love so much, to put my own stamp on it.
Yeah.
That hopefully will last the test of time.
Yeah, I think it's super exciting. I love this. But like, I was curious, what did you think about like because I know that every time somebody like every one of us who's got a game designer and it sits there and we'll look at when somebody takes our idea and builds on it and be like, I wouldn't have made that choice. Like, was it weird to you to see like kind of the shifts that Carmen put into your list versus what the one that they ended up printing?
Well, I like their list. I have a copy of it, and I haven't
Tinkered
changed
with
it
it?
other than swapping in the vision charms that came with it as the bonus cards. I swapped them in, but other than that, I haven't wanted to make any changes to it. It's a good list. There's some cards in there I wouldn't have chosen, but it's good.
I think one of my favorite things has been watching people proliferate Dandan variants in terms of like my list has these cards in it because like I liked it a lot when I played in like, Nemesis block or whatever the hell. Like this was my favorite card, so I'm going to put it in there. And then you see all these little just micro tweaks where people are like, ooh, what would be a more interesting way to put in, what would be a more interesting card to put into Dandan or anything like that. And that's like, it's so fun because even though it's a single deck format and we're roughly using the same list, being able to put these little personalized tweaks in there it makes me smile every time.
Yeah, it's like building a cube. I've heard it compared
Yeah.
to building a cube, and it might come to shock to some people, but I've never played a cube and I've never built one.
Dude, what?
Yeah. I just
But
never
you
had.
like
I don't know. I've never had the opportunity.
You were at Shoebox. Half of Shoebox was CubeCon.
It was. I was there at my tables showcasing Dandan and other variants the entire time. The only time I left there was to use the restroom.
Oh,
eat,
man.
Occasionally eat and go to your event. So.
Well, I feel honored then. But dude, if I had known, I would have gotten you to play Mental Misplay's Weirdo Cube, which is just full of all these utterly bizarre cards, all these like crazy dreams. Like I had an Oops All Emrakul deck. It had 5 Emrakuls and 2 channels. And my turn 1 was Black Lotus into channel into Emrakul. And then the next player was like, that's cool, Caracas. And I'm like,
Yeah, no, I watched a powerful vintage cube in the last 6 months, and it was interesting to watch. It's fun to
It's
watch,
so
but I
much
didn't get
fun.
to play.
I think you especially would get a kick out of playing with some of the like. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you should definitely go to CubeCon and play some of the super weird variants of Magic that exist out there that are so utterly deranged, almost just so weird comparatively to like the way people think about Magic. But I don't know. I love it. I got to play Redfish, the Redfish format you did, which was cool.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
awesome.
That was super fun because like Red Herring is such a weirdo card, and so can you like walk me through kind of this idea? Like, how do you what prompts you to want to create a new way to play? Is it like you look at a card and it's got bizarre text on it that just makes you want to do something with that?
Full disclosure, a buddy of mine, who's part of my play group, my variant play group, first day I met him, he brought a deck he called Hot Sushi, and it used the Red Herring. And he said he searched, after he played Dandan, he thought it was awesome, and he searched for other 2-mana fish in Magic, and he found Red Herring. And he built a deck with it, and it's a good shared library, red artifact kind of board control deck. His name is Miguel Grados, by the way. And his link to his list is in that Google Doc as well. Yeah. But I liked his deck, but there was something missing. I looked at Red Herring, and you can sack it. It's a clue, so you can pay 2 mana and sacrifice it to draw a card. And I was like, well, anytime you try to kill it, as long as your opponent has 2 mana, he's going to just draw a card. And I was like, okay, how do we get around that? And I came up with Split Second. So I started using Split Second cards. Most notably, it's the kind of the memory lapse of the Red Hot Seasoned Fish deck is a Word of Seizing, which is that's where it comes. The seizing in Red Hot Seasoned Fish is not spelled. Oh, I
was trying to figure out like because it's like I'm like, is it a Japanese thing? What am I missing here?
Right, it's spelled seasoned is spelled like seizing.
Yeah.
Instead. So anyway, that's kind
so
of
Word of Seizing is 2 red for an instant with Split Second that says untap target permanent and get control of it till end of turn, and it gains haste till end of turn.
Yeah, it's 3 red, and it's any permanent too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it costs 5 mana, which is a lot for the memory lapse of the deck. So there's also Cloud Post in there and other ways to get Cloud Post. Anyway, it's Cal Jones played it at Shoebox, and he said he really liked it. He played like 4 games. I didn't play against him. He played against somebody else. He's like, I really like this. So
it's a really fun one. So like I was introduced to a variant, a single deck variant that was made by some folks inside of Wizard of the Coast called Hollow, which is a Dandan variant. Here, I'll send you the link right now just so you can take it out. They haven't made this public because this is somebody's personal pet deck, so I'm not going to like spoil it. But effectively, the idea here is that it's using Hollow One, which is like, the 4/4 for 5 that costs 2 less to cast for each card you cycle or discard this turn. And it's got a whole bunch of spells like Burning Inquiry, which lets you draw 3 and discard 3 for 1 mana, and Collective Brutality and Faithless Looting and all these other cards. And these cards like, Bloodghast and Flamewake Phoenix and things that all go into the graveyard and then come back over time with different ways to do it. And it's a very fast single deck, aggressive format, really, really fun to play. And it exists because somebody played Dandan and was like, that's super cool. What else? What other way could I make this work? And I think that's sick. Like I am so every time somebody shows me a Dandan variant, I just become very excited because I'm like, oh, let's go. This is, I want to see your weird ideas.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Every time I think I played 4 or 5 at Shoebox that people brought. Every time I was like, yeah, another one, yay, let's play.
Have you signed many Dandans yet?
I have signed a lot of Dandans, and very recently I've signed a lot. The most I've signed in one day, probably last weekend or 2 weekends ago. I guess.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Drew Tucker is also probably very grateful for you for making this random card.
In fact, Drew, probably, I don't know, a year ago or so, he sent me, he contacted me online and then got my address and sent me a handwritten note and a set of his Dandan tokens.
Oh, sick.
Note thanking me for creating it. And so it's pretty awesome. Yeah, he's a good guy. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, think about it. He drew this card 35 years ago or whatever, almost 40 years ago even. And it's just like, been sitting neglected for 1,000 years, and then suddenly out of nowhere, it's the most important card he's signing. And
Yeah,
it's just,
I think he said it's one of his favorites he's ever illustrated. It's like the illustration is one of his favorites.
it took me way longer than I'm willing to admit to realize that there was a fish underneath those boats.
Yeah, I didn't notice it. Well, the first copies I saw were the Chronicles Dandan,
Which are like just washed out.
Yeah, the printing wasn't good, so you couldn't see the fish. But once I saw it, so the older versions of it, or maybe the fourth edition version, I think they put it in fourth edition 2 or something. When I finally could see it, but I couldn't see it in the Chronicles ones.
Yeah, it just looked like water or something.
Yeah,
And I was like, look, there's 2 boats. What's the Dandan? I don't know. But and like it's not like the card text gives anything away. It says summon Dandan. Great.
Right.
Oh man. So what inspires you to keep wanting to do this?
Well, like I said, anytime somebody brings one to me and wants to play their variant, I'm like, yeah, let's play, because that's my favorite thing about the Viral Wise of Dandan is other people building variants, and I kind of always wanted to be the variant guy. I always kind of was when I'd travel around and bring out my variants. I was like, I want people to remember that I brought these out and that they had tried something unique. And so I want to keep doing that. I'm always working on a couple. In fact, in that Google Doc, it teases a couple that I'm still not happy with that I haven't released. But it just kind of gives maybe a very brief description in the working title.
Right. So I was going to ask you, like, what I wanted to. I mean, I'm going to go back to this question, which is like, how do you get inspired to create a format, like, or to create a new way to play? What is that trigger that gets you to want to do this, or that gets you to think like, oh, this would be interesting to do?
Well, it's different for each one. For Red Hot Seasoned Fish, it was looking at red herring and going, it's like all upside. How can we make it not be so good? It's like, Word of Seething and split second cards. So it's kind of seeing a problem or seeing a card that has a unique flaw or something, and like, how do we make that better or worse? In some cases, if it's too good, let's make it worse. I also, a buddy of mine that comes to my play group, he challenged us, like we were all sitting around. He's like, build a shared library 3-player game. And so I did that too, and it's one of the working title ones in there. They call it Triple Agents. It's kind of a commander variant, but you all play it. The 3 players play out of the same library, and it's just different things. I mean, it's kind of whatever strikes me at the time.
What is tripping?
Okay, so
based around cantrips.
Yeah, when I released Dandan Online in 2016, I wanted to release 3 different games, and they had to be very different. I didn't want to release Dandan and 2 other shared library games. So I already had Rock, Paper, Scissors, which was the 3 players playing the same, essentially the same deck, but with different creatures. And then I needed one more, and I had another one that I wasn't happy with. So I wanted to build another one. I've always been enamored with cantrips. I really always thought they were cool. So I was like, I want to build an all cantrip variant. And so I built Trippin'. And it's pretty good. It's not my favorite deck. It's very weird magic. Like, it's I named it Trippin' because it's all loaded with cantrips, but it's also kind of a head trip. It's kind of weird. It's like, I don't like necessarily wanted to go with the drug reference, tripping, but it feels like that. It's like very weird.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I saw Crovicon Fetish in there. Okay, like I haven't seen that card since like I was playing in middle school. So and that card is kind of garbage.
It is.
I don't know. I think, man, you use a lot of random piles of garbage to make interesting cards.
That's right.
Telemtor's Edict. Come on.
I'm tripping. There's I wanted to use. I had to use the fact that there are slow trips in there. The original cantrips that you draw during the next turn's upkeep. It's kind of something that needed to happen, or just be too fast. It's just you just constantly play cards, and draw cards and play more cards. So the slow trips kind of work to slow things down, and they're kind of an important part of the deck.
Mm. Did you ever get a chance to play the Plane Chase map variant of Plane Chase?
I've not. No.
So my friend Gavin Duggan, who was one of the guys on the Commander Rules Committee, he created this version of Plane Chase where you've got a stack of the planes in the middle, and so it's like just one stack, and he lays them out in a T shape. So there's like 5 planes laid out, and as you're playing Plane Chase and you're playing Magic and you roll the dice to move to the next plane, you have to move to one of the planes that is open from the plane that you're on. So then you can move to an adjacent plane, which then unlocks 3 other planes so that you can keep kind of traveling and going through as if you're playing a RPG or like an old D&D game or something like that. And it leads to some really chaotic moments where you can backtrack to weirdo planes that you had left before or find yourself warped to another plane. And it's, I don't know, I love it when people take Magic cards to do different things.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
It is so much fun to play, especially when you got like 4 people in Commander decks and stuff. It gets very chaotic very quickly. And Plane Chase is just so fun.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to play in your event at Shoebox, because it had a unique setup.
Yeah, so for those guys who don't know what my setup was, it was called Chaos Commander, where basically I give everybody 2 packs of a 20-card booster, so Commander Legends or Baldur's Gate or one of those type of boosters, and they open them as if they're opening a sealed deck and look inside and try to build the skeleton of a 60-card Brawl deck, a Commander deck. And then we go and we draft. And we have chaos draft. So it's just a bunch of random packs. But the way that Shoebox had lined it up was that there were lines of like 20 people in these like loops of these drafts or whatever. So you were never going to see a pack come back again. So you take one card out of it, put it into your pile, and then just pray that whatever's coming is in your colors. And because you've got the skeleton of a deck with your legends and stuff already, it gives you the foundation to build your own Brawl deck, at which point you then play a round or 2 of Brawl against your friends, and then you can win. Or lose, depending on how good your deck is. But it was so much fun to do because, like, our cards were there was no chance of being able to sculpt your draft. There was no way to decide what's coming. You're just like, a pack is here, find the card that works with this pile, and let's go. And it looks like everybody had a blast because Shoebox wants me to do it again next time. So
it was very fun. And if I do it a little, I go into it a little bit different. If I got to play it again, because I ended up with a almost mono green deck. I had a little bit of blue in there, and it wasn't great, but I still had fun in the games I played, and I almost won one.
I don't know. For me, it's just I love, like, my 2 favorite ways to play are sealed deck and chaos draft, and like getting a way to put those together felt really interesting and fun, and I'm glad that like almost everybody seemed to enjoy themselves there, and it was just really, really cool. It's like, we should have weird ways to play.
It was fun. I really liked it.
Did you see that there was at one of the MagicCons there was a Dandan tournament?
Yeah, well, there was actually the first one was in Chicago. It was MagicCon Chicago last year. And,
I remember Covert Go Blue was like hosting it or something. And
he hosted it. Yeah.
He was like, "This is the longest thing I've ever seen in my life," because Dandan's not short. It's many things, but it's not a short, quick game.
And they used my original list. He did. He used my original list. The guy who won that tournament, he was at Shoebox.
Oh,
he came over and introduced himself, and that he had won it. He had the playmat that said Dandan Champion. He didn't bring his fish trophy, but it was cool to meet him. And, I said, "You won that?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "I got a picture of you on my phone." That's kind of weird, but I took his picture offline and to show people this is the guy that won the Dandan.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I hope you took a new picture of him though. So it's like, hey, look,
I didn't get the chance, but he came up briefly. And I didn't get to. I would like to have played a game of Dandan with him. But,
that would have been fun.
Yeah.
Man.
But yeah, it was nice to meet him and stuff. And then they had one again at I think they had one at Vegas last year.
Yeah, they had one the secret layer one where they actually got to use the Dandan decks, which was cool.
Atlanta, yeah, that was in the fall, I believe.
Yeah, I wish I really wanted to join in on that, but it was sold out. Oh man, what is your favorite way to play Magic?
My favorite real way to play Magic, the non-variant way.
Anything.
Okay, well, I love variants now. Back in the day when I first started playing, I was a sealed deck player. I loved sealed deck, and I had a really good sealed limited rating because of it. Even I went to a state championship in Wyoming, and to another town which I didn't usually play in. And one of the guys there was like, "It took me forever to beat your limited rating." I'm like, I didn't even know I had somebody trying to beat my limited rating, but okay.
That's cool.
So sealed deck was my favorite back in the day. Now I pretty much just play weird Magic. So.
Oh man, do you have a commander deck?
I have 7 commander decks. I think I kept.
Which one's your favorite?
My first commander. What's that?
No, go ahead, please.
My first commander deck was Omnath Locus of Rage. I opened him as a pre-release card in the Battle for Zendikar pre-release, and I was like, well, I might as well build a commander deck now. I have a legendary creature. I'll just throw a bunch of elementals in there and see what happens. And then I built it over the next couple of years. I made it better and better and better. I still play it. He's still one of my favorites. What I love about him is during a game, I'll say, like, don't make Omnath angry. I'll pretend like he's got his own personality, and he's like, oh, don't do that. You're going to make Omnath angry.
Man.
But I have probably my best one is Pure and Toothy. I have Pure and Toothy.
Pure and Toothy are very, very strong.
Yeah, they're probably my favorite deck, probably my best one. But I've got a couple others.
That's awesome.
I don't play them as much anymore, but.
Well, I mean, now you've got a bunch of friends who come in over and play like, hey, look, I've got a deck that uses 38 cards and they're all purple. And
yeah.
Oh, man. I don't know. I'll play anything that somebody puts down with the Magic pack, and I'll play, let's figure it out. This is cool. But thank you so much for joining me today, man. This has been a delight. And I'm so glad to see you getting recognition from the broader community, especially for just how cool these formats have become, and like showing people that there's ways to play Magic that are still fun, that are not just by the book, as it were. Like, look, man, we own all these. One thing that just irks the hell out of me, and I tried to change this when I was working on Commander, and was that, like, I don't like that people are like, oh, you can't use gold border or silver border cards. They're not real Magic cards. I'm like, Wizards of the Coast put them out. They're real Magic cards. All of these weird test cards that show up in Gavin Unknown events or in like the mystery boosters, those are all real Magic cards. If you find one that's weird and cool and does something you want, play it. Yeah. Like, my favorite card, there's a card in the Gavin Unknown event called Sword of Blank and Blank, where you roll a D10 and each half of it is basically one of the 10 swords. And so you pick, like, you get Sword of Feast and Ice, and then it just does one half and one half, and nice. Good luck. And I don't know, man, like, people are too, what's the word? I'm tied to wanting to be like formalists about this. Like, it's a game. Use a piece and do whatever you want. Yeah. Who cares? Yeah.
I mean, there's what is it? Pleasant Kenobi has that variant where you play cards from other games.
The party box, man. Yeah, that's so weird.
That was that shoebox too, I think.
Tappy Toe Claws had one there. Yeah, she had the Kenobi party box where it's just a bizarre pile of like bicycle cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards and whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like, one of my good friends, Ravi, has come up with this game called Red Deck Wins. Oh, not Red Deck Wins, but it's like Red Card Wins, where it's got like a bunch of red cards and a blue card, and there's all this weird play that happens to try to figure out like who, like, it's a lot of bluffing and a lot of back and forth kind of board gamingness. And that's super fun. I should make him write it up and put it online somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love playing weird variants of Magic, and
Yeah,
Dandan is a blast. So thank you again so much for joining me today.
absolutely. It's glad to be here. It's, thanks for inviting me.
So if folks wanted to find you or find your variants or anything like that, where could they go?
Well, you have the link to the and that has a bunch of links. I have a YouTube channel. It's not all about Magic variants. It's mostly about telling stories about playing Magic 30 years ago. But it's there too, and there's a link to my playlist of my Magic variant non-Dandan variants playlist.
What's your YouTube channel called?
Nick's Magic Storytime.
Man,
I just tell I tell anecdotes about playing Magic from years ago, and then once in a while I'll release a Danecdote video that's specifically about Dandans.
I feel like I should have been asking you stories about 30 years ago then, man. Like, you should have been telling me, it's like, oh, let me tell you about this Lana War elf that I had once. Because, that's when I played too. Look, I'm old. It's okay. But as always, my friends, you can find me on Blue Sky at Shivam Bhatt. You can find this podcast where podcasts are sold, or on YouTube every Tuesday. Thanks to my editor, Dan. And I'll make sure that Dan links to your variants and to your channel. And also, you can hear me on Shivam and Wheeler Love Magic or the Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast. And remember, my friends, it's not magic without the gathering, and we'll see you next time.